Hello. You have a problem. You have a challenge. You have a difficulty that you are trying to resolve and you can't. What do you do? I tell you what you do. You define another problem, another challenge, which is a little bit easier to solve, but one that when you solve it, you can go back to the original challenge and have an easier time handling it. So these are the two conditions. It must be easier, and it must help you solve the original challenge. Very simple. But this simple advice, this simple procedure, is all its details, eventually, is the essence of the innovation procedural extract of the essence of how innovation has been processed, has been developed for centuries. That's how the major innovations in human history have transpired. Case Western, we have analyzed the history of innovations and have developed the code, the procedure that would allow everyone become an innovator. Everyone. Innovation is for everyone to practice. It's our survival. It's our prosperity. So let's now go back to this simple procedure. How do you find this secondary challenge? 3 ways. You choose one of them. The first one, breakdown. You divide the original challenge to components. Supposedly, each of those components, or at least one of them, will be easier to handle, to resolve, than the original one. And of course, because it is a component, if you resolve it, it will reflect on the original challenge and make it easier to solve. So that's one mode, breaking it down. The second route, mode, extension. You combine the original challenge with a similar challenge, maybe in a different setting, in a different field even, but a challenge that has functional similarities to the challenge, the problem that you are trying to solve. You look at those two challenges together and trying to copy solution from the other one to use. Be inspired by the way the other one was handled for your case. So that's the second route. The third, abstraction. You redefine your challenge with greater abstraction, more generality. Just ignore the gory details. You get clarity, you get simplicity, you get insight. If you resolve your challenge in the abstraction, it certainly helps you resolve it in the original form. So there you have it. You break it down to component. You extend it by combining it with other challenges of some functional similarity, or you redefine it in greater abstraction. either one route that you take, you end up with a secondary challenge. You solve it, you go back to the original. What do you do when this secondary challenge that you have just selected is still too hard? You cannot resolve it. Well, the answer is very simple. You find a third challenge that is easier than the second challenge, and such that when you resolve it, it will alleviate the burden of resolving the secondary challenge. In other words, you are repeating the same procedure again. And again, you have three options. You either break down the challenge to components, or you go the extension route, meaning you find another challenge with some functional similarities to learn from, or you go the abstraction route. You define the same challenge in greater abstraction. Either one of those choices leads you to one or more third level challenge. It's easier to resolve than the challenges before, and if you do, you climb back to the secondary challenge. Once you resolve the secondary challenge, you go back to the original challenge. You resolve this, you go home. If the third challenge is still too hard, you apply the same thing again. Breakdown, extension, abstraction leads you to a fourth degree challenge. And it can continue on and on. Each time, the challenges are easier to resolve, and at some point, you resolve the derived challenge, and when you do that, you climb back up. Eventually, going back and forth, you return to the original challenge and resolve your original problem. And then it's a successful termination of the innovation project. When you describe it, you can define a map, and on this map, draw the innovation pathway. We found out that every innovation process can be mapped on this pathway. And this procedure, together with all the rules and the software and the know-how, is a robust system that will help you be a better innovator, will do more justice to your creativity, will accelerate the process of bringing out into the open, into the implementation, all those ideas, all those creative thoughts that have been raging in you. Come and see what we are doing. We would like to show you, to demonstrate, to train you. Check us out. WeInnovate.net is where you find the details. I'm Gideon Samid, and I really thank you for your attention.